Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a couple days, but I wanted to start this video by addressing some of the comments I saw in my last video. And first and foremost, I do want to apologize. I misspoke, or rather, I didn't fully explain what I was talking about when I was referring to proxies being accepted in Magic the Gathering tournaments. Now, Wizards of the Coast does have guidelines on their website regarding using proxies, and essentially they don't have a problem with it as long as A, you're not trying to sell them off as real cards, B, it's not a sanctioned event, and as long as the prize pool isn't worth a total of over $5,000. And again, it's a guideline that they have up on their website regarding proxies, because they did have issues in the past where people were bringing proxies to sanctioned events to get points to get qualified, for qualifiers and stuff like that. And so they had an issue with that. So there is actually a statement. And so, yeah, basically they are allowed at tournaments at local card shops as long as they're not sanctioned. And I should have clarified that, and I should have specified that. Another common thread that I saw with some of the comments was the price of getting into playing the Pokemon card game. And yeah, 50, 50, it depends on what you're trying to do, but yeah, you can get a tournament ready deck for about $50, anywhere between 50 and 150. It depends on if you want your full art variants of some of those cards that are in that deck. And yeah, it was me not specifying, and that was on me. But I still stand by everything I said in my last video. I just wanted to clarify those 2 points. But as for going forward, it's, like I said, I still stand by those things that I said. I still believe that. I still believe that there's a bar to entry that is, obviously it's not unrealistic. It's very realistic. Like I said, anywhere between $50 to $150 for a deck. Now, when you get into Magic the Gathering, those decks can get kind of pricey once you get into more competitive play styles. Now that Magic the Gathering has an official ranking tier list based on what you can have within your deck and how your deck can play based on the level that you're playing at. And then those levels of play are determined by your ranking for whatever. I don't know. I'm not really well versed in Magic the Gathering. Now, my brother is, and I don't know what his rank is currently, but I know that he has like 5 decks that are each worth like $2,000. Like, he has really high-end decks, and he plays at a high level. Yeah, and to the rest of this, there's to me, it feels like it's a really weird form of gatekeeping that I'm getting pushback for, saying that $50 to $150 is too much for a deck to be able to just play a game. And a lot of comments, like I said, a lot of people in the comments were saying, well, just play casually, don't go to tournaments and stuff like that. And yeah, I do that. I do play casually. My deck is very casual, and it actually does have some pretty, it's probably a $60 deck, on average about $1 per card. But $60 means different things to different people. And I think that's something we really need to understand, is that like $100 means way more to some people than others. But yeah, like I said, it's a really weird thing to want to gatekeep when we've allowed so many things to infiltrate these hobbies, like the scalpers and the resellers, and just allowing the prices of collectible cards to just get way out of hand. And feel free to tell me whatever you think in the comments. It doesn't really bother me. I mean, these are just my opinions. Like, you can have a different opinion. It's okay. I just, I'm just out here trying to change people's minds. And now, like I said, some of those comments made a lot of sense to me, and it, put things into perspective. And it's like, yeah, like I said, $50-$60, it's not a lot of money, especially today, like especially in today's economy, it's not a lot of money. But again, that $50-$60 up to $100-$150 in that range, and again, that's a personal number for everybody. That's, like I said, that's wanting full art variants of cards, or maybe like wanting vintage energy cards. I mean, there are some holographic energy cards that are $10. And then you have your ace specs and all that stuff. Like, I'm not ignorant of all of these things. I'm pretty well versed. I've spent a lot of time tracking these things, and I'm not broke by any means. I am, but even I think it's too much. And do with that information what you will. Again, comment whatever you want. Criticize me as much as you want. I'm going to keep making these videos and talking about these outrageous prices, and call it a bad take, or call it a hot take or whatever. But I said, I feel this is a really weird way of like gatekeeping people to say that because $100 is too much for a deck, like they're the problem. That's just weird to me. Or to think that people shouldn't be allowed to play if they can't afford real cards for Magic the Gathering. That's just weird to me. Now, and then people say that Pokemon TCG is like the cheapest one to get into, and I agree with that 100%. I agree it's one of the cheapest ones to get into. But then, and you look at games like up and coming games like Disney or Lorcana, I almost call it Arcana, Disney Lorcana, and it's like, I've talked to a lot of shopkeepers that have talked about, basically told me that the price of the cards is based on like balancing patches. So something that might have been super powerful in one balance patch that was going for like $500 because everybody needed it in their deck went to being like $5 because there was a balance patch, and now that card isn't as powerful because it's got stronger counters to it. And that makes sense. And a lot of you guys in the comments, again, I mean, I look at the comments. I said it in one of my previous videos. I do look at the comments, and I try to respond to these as much as I can. Somebody said, hey, just play extended so that you can play all the cards you want. You don't have to worry about being standard conformant. But there's not a lot of decks within that are viable because everybody's playing the same deck. So the meta is much tighter. And in regards to meta for TCG, again, like I said before, my brother has like 4 or 5 decks that are all really good, that all play at like high levels of play. And and that's one thing I feel like about Magic the Gathering is that there's a much larger pool of cards that are in standard set for competition that really spread out that meta, so that there are 10 or 12 meta decks. But with Pokemon, I don't think we're quite there yet, because they just keep reprinting cards, which is a whole nother thing in itself that I've taken issue with more of the recent sets, is that there's so many reprints. And I'm not just talking about trainers and support cards. Like, that's a given, especially if you're going to have new sets drop every 9 weeks. It used to be every 12 weeks. And in 3 weeks doesn't sound like a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, like in the large scope of things, it's way too fast. I think not every 9 weeks for a new set is crazy to me. But again, my opinion. It's my opinion. So, you know, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm more than happy to look. I'm more than happy to read through them, and I'd be really happy if people actually watch the videos too. I'll just close with this. You know, I see a lot of people with really strong opinions, and the average watch time of my video is 2 minutes. So I don't mind if the people have an opinion. I don't mind reading through your comments and all that, but I'd appreciate a good watch and maybe a little bit of reflecting. Like I said, I'm not broke, I'm not poor, and I still believe that $100 for a deck on average, that's the average cost, is $100 for a deck for Pokemon to be competitive. I think that's too much. I think that's too much. That's my opinion. Anyway, let me know yours in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a good night.